Hey everyone, we're up here hunting today, and so we had a couple of mishaps, and I'll get to those in a little bit, but let's pop some shoes on and I'll show you what it's looking like outside. And yeah, as you can hear, it's a little bit rainy. Alright, let's pop out here. Show you what's going on. I got cloudy skies. Earlier I came out here and I was trying to film this, and there was a doe, a deer, a female deer, ray of tropic golden sun, but it's not. But I mean, this camera doesn't do it justice, but it's raining right now, and you could probably hear the storming. We'll see how that, but yeah, parked next to a big old pine tree. It's my four-wheeler. It's all dirty. I'll tell you why it's all dirty in a little bit here. But, I mean, you can see that. Just all over. Dirty. Yeah, let's pop back in here before I get soaked. Alright. So, set you back up. You hear that rain. Thunder coming down. So, today was an exciting day. Cheers. So I got up here about, I guess I rolled into this spot about 8:30 or so. Yeah, I'd say about 8:30 or so. Got here, unloaded the wheeler and changed my clothes and got everything all ready. Took off on a hunt. And so there, I mean, it's been doing this, but only much harder for the last, week or so up here, just dumping rain. And so that makes for some, treacherous roads. And so I'm up on an elk hunt right now, so I've got a cow tag for archery, and I'm hoping to get it done. But today kind of threw me for a loop a little bit. I was traveling, and I always like to hit this. I'm up here. I've common hunting area that I come to every year, and I was up here, and I get down to the spot that I wanted to go to, and like I said, it'd been raining and blowing up here for at least a week, if not a little bit more up here. We're quite a ways up. We're probably 8,000 foot elevation, probably closer to 10,000 elevation. I'm up at the summit right now of the road, and then the road drops back down into another valley, and that's where I go hunt, is down in this other valley, and then up at the top of this other peak. Well, anyway, I get up to the road that I want to turn down and go down, and we call it the Barrel because old timers, they used to have a mine up there, and they have this barrel that's set off to the side of the road, and so it's just a landmark, is what we call it, the barrel. So you know, it's pretty decent sized hunting area down in there, and so we every year we go. Every year I go down in there, and that's a first spot I hit because it's before you go all the way up the hill. And so this year I tried to hit that road, and the wind had blown a massive tree, and I only have this little 12-inch silky saw, and there was no way I was getting through that with that some nice thunder going on with that little tiny saw. So there's another way to get to it. But you have to go all the way to the top and then come down the back side, and that road is not, when it's dry, it's not a favorable road. It's not one of the it's not one of the trails that I like to travel. It's just you have to be pretty skilled to drive this road, because there's roots that come through the road and then they drop off, and then they're kind of catty corner like this. So you got a big root here, and then a drop off, and you got a root over here and a big drop off. So you're going like this the whole time. And so when you're going down it, it's alright. I mean, because you can, you can stand up and lean back and, kind of control your bike of where you're going. And so I went down there. I got down there. The road behind that big old tree that had fallen was clear, and so I go down in there, and sure as shit, every year there's sign down there, and today was no different. There was tons of sign down in there. There was fresh track. There's a nice big wallow that the elk like to get the bugs off of them. They just wallow around in it, and it's full of water right now, and which is perfect, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to hit it, because I knew that wallow would be something that those elk would be frequenting to get the bugs off of them, because it rains and then it gets humid, bugs come out and get all over the animals, and they got to have some kind of relief, and so that wallow is something that they like to hit. So anyway, I go down there, and I get down in there, and there's another tree across the road. This one's not as big of a deal. It's just a tree that had fallen, and then the whole top was like covering the trail pretty good, and there was no way to get around it on either side, because one side was the whole top of the tree, and the other side was like limbs and stuff like that were everywhere, and you just couldn't get around it. And so I popped out the saw, I'd cut all that down and threw it off the side of the trail, and continued on the trail. That took me about 20 minutes to get that done, so not too bad with a little 12-inch silky saw. And so I get down in there and get my bow and hike down in there, and I'm getting elk freaking urine smell in my face. The wind's blowing right at me. It's perfect, but I knew already that if they were down in there, I would have scared them off because of cutting the tree and whatnot. I just wanted to check it for sign and whatnot and make sure that my assumptions were correct, and they were correct. That area is, you can't, they love that area. It's nice and covered. There's a nice covered area. It's nice soft ground. There's lots of pine needle for bedding, and it's a nice shady area for midday. They go in there and they relax because it's nice, and then there's a wallow off to the side to get the bugs off, and then down below there's a nice meadow. I mean it's a little bit of a hike down in there to get to the meadow, but there's food there too. So it's pretty good area. Well, anyway, I get done with my hike down in there and checking the sign and all that, and I knew there wasn't going to be any elk down there because of the noise that I made with, throwing branches and whatnot and clearing the trail. So anyway, I'm starting to make my way back up, and on the way down, there was a tree that was falling, but I was able to, clear it on the way down because, you got your momentum. Well, on the start of it's a pretty steep grade going back up to get in there or to get up out of there, and that tree is laying down, and so you can't just gun it out of a tree and expect not to break anything on your machine, so you have to go at it pretty slow to get up over it because you're already at an incline. And so my front tires clear really easily. My right rear tire clears pretty easily, but I get high centered right on the freaking back end of that, and it's like lifting me up on my axle, and I can't get out of that thing. I am trying. I back up. That made it worse. I was like, what in the heck? So I pull out the silky saw and I cut it all, and I'm still high centered on this piece. That's, it's probably a 10-foot piece. It's probably, maybe, it's barely, it's probably barely less. It was barely less than my silky saw. It was probably 11 inches because my strokes were, if I went weird or something like that, my stroke would hit the inside of the log. So it was pretty hard to get through it, and I had to cut that thing in 6 places. 6 freaking places I had to cut that ring, and then finally I was able to pull it free from underneath the machine. I had to clear the trail of it, or else I wouldn't have been able to get up the trail. So I cut that piece out first, and that left a nice big section out of the trail. Well, and then I had to cut a piece behind the four-wheeler that was right behind it. So I started to cut that piece, and then it pinched and trapped my saw in there, and I was having a hard time getting it out. And then I remembered, well, yeah, I have a freaking hatchet in there, and so I wedged the hatchet in there, and I was able to get the saw out, but it was still pinched too much to saw through it. So I had to take another cut about 2 foot down from that to relieve the pressure of that one. And then I looked at my situation, and I had already dug 2 big old holes, trenches with my front tire, so there was no way I was getting out of there unless I backed out a little bit. So I cut another section out and moved the rest, about 20 feet of a tree, moved it off to the side and moved that little section out, and then I cut the rest of the jacked some rocks up underneath the limb and got it so it wasn't pinching the saw when I was cutting. Jammed my hatchet back in there and started sawing. So this took about an hour and a half to get this done, and I still couldn't get out. And so luckily I have a winch on my and I tried to use my winch too before, but I was so high centered that my rear wheels were no longer touching because I had slid back a little bit further on that log, and so I was just like teetering like this. And so grabbed the winch, hiked it up about 50 feet and wrapped it around a big old pine tree and winched it so I was up on the log and not sliding any further. And then I cut another piece of the log completely out, and I was able to pull the rest of the log from underneath the four-wheeler. And then I was able to winch and use the gas at the same time in unison to get me up out of the trenches that I had dug. And so for about an hour and 45 minutes I was working with this. So that was the easy part of my day. So and then I'm trying to get out of there, and like I said, I can't go the easy way because there's a big tree that had fallen onto the trail on the easy way to come into this area. And so I have to go up that area that's all rooted up, and not to mention that it's like I said, it's just been muddy and it's raining and there's no traction, and I'm trying to get up out of there, and even if I would have got an elk, I would have been trapped down in that son of a bitch. So I'm heading up this hill, and I get to that part that's all rooted, and I start going like this and like this, and I couldn't make it up this one part, and so I had to back down, and then that gave me a weird line to get up, and if I couldn't back up any further because there was a tree right there, that I was just gonna run into no matter what, and so I cranked the wheel, hoping that I would clear the route, which I didn't, and I gave it some gas, put it in low, gave it some gas, and freaking, it just went whoo, and then I had to jump off at this point. There was a tree right here, which kind of saved it, and it rolled like this, and then it kind of rolled a little bit further, and then it rolled one more time, so it was up on its side. The wheeler was up on its side, and I tried for like 10 minutes to lift that sucker back up, and I knew even if I lifted back up, that fucker was going to tumble all the way back down. So the next thing I did was I grabbed the winch cable while it was on its side, and I had to get it back in the line because it was like so the trail's running up this way, and my wheeler was pointed like this because it had rolled one complete turn and landed and got stuck by that tree that was right here with the front, which a good thing my bow didn't even get hurt. I was like, what the heck? I didn't get hurt, so that's a good thing. The bow didn't get broke. Yeah, so anyway, I grabbed the winch cable and I run it up about 25 yards, and I wrap it around a tree, and to pull the wheeler so it's heading up the trail, because otherwise if I would have tried to just flip the wheeler back up, it would have just continued to roll down the trail. So I turned the wheeler while it was still on its side with the winch, and then I tried to push it back up again, and I couldn't get it up. So my wheeler is a Kawasaki 750 brute force. It's pretty powerful, pretty heavy. I could only imagine if I was, riding a fucking 1050 or something, I would have never got it up out of there, if that would have happened. So anyway, I get it pointed up in the right direction, and now I can't flip it back up. I'm trying and I'm trying. I've tried for like 10-15 minutes. I'm running out of energy doing this shit. I've already freaking spent an hour and 45 minutes cutting logs. So at this point I'm like, oh my gosh, what else is going to happen to me today? And so I couldn't flip it. And so what I did is I took the winch cable, I made sure that it was holding steady, and then it wasn't going to slide or anything. I took the winch cable and I fed it through up underneath the where you put your feet, and then up over the top of it to a tree, and then I winched it up onto its thing. I had a brake on, so the lock brake on, so it wouldn't go anywhere. And I did it slowly so it wouldn't like boom and then, kind of knock itself out of that. So I did it, and then I got it, and then the brakes still hold. So I undid the winch cable, and then I wasn't about to try and ride it back up through this area. And so what I did is I took the winch cable and I hooked it to trees and winched it up to where I was real close to the tree, put on the brake, put something behind the tire, because at this point I'm pretty damn straight, pretty, you know, going up a super steep incline at this point. And I've done this trail multiple times when it's dry. I've never done it when it's been soaking wet like this, and I probably won't ever do it again. I probably won't go back down in there. I'm probably gonna try and call my buddy and tell him to bring his chainsaw. I should have brought my chainsaw. If I would have brought my chainsaw, it would have been fun. But I forgot about it last minute. Anyway, I had to winch it 3 times. So I winched it up past the root section, winched it up past the super steep section, and then I winched it one more time because there was these 3 trees, and if I didn't get around those trees with enough power, then I would have just gone right back down. So I winched it up in between those trees, and then got on the wheeler, and I did the winch and the gas at the same time to maneuver me up through the trees. And then once I was up through the trees, it kind of, you know, wasn't as steep as an incline. And then I got the winch off and put it in low and freaking powered my way up the rest of the freaking hill. And yeah, ordeal. Let me tell you about it. So, and then I get up there in time, and I start seeing these clouds roll in this thunder, and I've got enough time to go and make a phone call to the wife to let her know what happened, but let her know that I'm all right. And so I do that, and then it's like a 5-mile trek from where the top of that hill where I get self-service and to camp here, because I didn't want to drive the truck and camper down the hill with how because from here down it's pretty steep, and there's like 4 switchbacks that, you know, that are pretty hard, and with a 4-wheeler it's nothing, but in a truck loaded down with a trailer and a camper, going down that hill and then trying to come back up out of that hill just as I already decided that before I came up, if I am going to do some hunting, that I'm just going to stay at the top of the pass there. So that's where I am now, and everything's okay. I am okay. I do have a short video on my phone that I've got to render of the log that I had to cut out, that I will probably add to this video. But I was too involved on the part where the wheeler flipped and a little bit too flustered to make a video at that point, and it would have been a gnarly video if I would have been able to. But all I had at the time was this phone, and I didn't take any camera gear with me, so that's why I decided to come back to camp and make video. I know it's gone on a little bit long. I'll probably edit it down a little bit for some time, but not a whole lot. But anyway, with that, thanks for tuning in to the Preserves today, guys, and peace. Got myself high centered here. Had to take the winch cable. I don't know if you can see that. Winch cable's right there. Run up to that tree. Dug myself a pretty good hole on this side. What happened is there was a huge rainstorm last night. This log that I'm sitting on was super wet, and so normally you get enough traction, get up over. I cut this section out right here, but I tried to go without having the winch cable on, and freaking slid me back even further on this log. So now I'm super high centered. So now I'm trying to cut out this thing. This will be the 5th cut on it that I've done. I did 1, 2, I did 3 right there, but there was so much weight on it, it pinched the saw. And then I cut a few of those branches out that were stuck up underneath. Now I'm working on this side right here, trying to get out. I think if I get this one, then I can lift a little bit and get this piece of log up underneath there and lift it back up and get enough room to where I can cut it out up there again, up underneath right there, and I can get that, and then maybe I can back out of it over to here with the winch cable still on. Just release the winch cable a little bit, and then try and get back out over that, and then pull that log out from the other side and try and help myself with the winch. Let's see.